And I'd ask everyone in attendance gear and join us in singing "O Canada."
Patriot love, in all thy Son's command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you to the National Film Board of Canada for the images of our country, and to alumni of our very own Grande Prairie Boys Choir for the audio. We'll move on to the adoption of previous council meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes from May 22nd? Thank you, Councillor Minhas.
Thank you, Mayor Will Given. I move the motion to adopt the.
Those were the May 22nd.
My 22nd agenda.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Minhas. A motion to adopt that set of minutes. Are there any errors or omissions that we need to correct ahead of time? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Please vote. Thank you. That motion carries. And then can I get a motion for the adoption of the agenda as presented? Motion for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'd move that Council adopt the agenda as presented.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Is there any discussion or debate as to the agenda? Any changes? Councillor Thiessen?
I do believe we have appointments to make tonight, and I don't know if they are reflected in our minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, we have some additional agenda items. Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen, for that. We have one addition of Aquaterra shareholders voting and appointments to the Combative Sports Commission. So let's put those on as items 8.1, Aquaterra shareholders voting, and 8.2, Combative Sports Commission. Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. That's why we asked the question, because somebody around the table usually remembers. Thank you.
I made the motion, though.
Thanks for that catch. 8.1 and 8.2. Are there any other additions to the agenda? And I think that that's everything. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, as amended? Excuse me.
I will make that motion, Mayor Given.
And I will call for the vote. Please vote. I think I'm looking for one more. Maybe your vote hasn't registered there, Council, just to make sure that it has. Thank you. And that motion carries. And that'll bring us to the delegation portion of our agenda. We've got a great full house this evening, which is excellent to see. We have a number of delegations that let us know that they, ahead of time, that they were planning on attending. And I'm going to turn it over first to Councillor Thiessen to deal with some important business as a result of our Municipal Government Day celebrations. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. Probably some of the most important announcements that we make. Normally we make these on the day of, but every once in a while we do it at a council meeting, and I'm guessing that's why a lot of you are here tonight, is to be recognized as our winners. But once again, the Municipal Government Day Youth Art Contest allowed Grande Prairie's young artists to demonstrate their talents in 3 grade categories, from pre-kindergarten to grade 3, from grades 4 to 9, and grades 10 to 12, by matching our theme this year. And the theme was Grande Prairie 60 Years Strong. And we received about 50 entries, and we're here tonight to award those prizes. And if you're wondering, 60 years strong, it's 60 years since the time Grande Prairie incorporated as a city in the province of Alberta. So in saying that, we have a couple special guests here, not only the winners, but also some of our sponsors of the prizes as well. And saying so, I would like to invite Mr. Chris Hamill from Tundra Process Solutions. I understand he's here to present our grand prize. Come on up. All right, so Chris is here to award the grand prize of the iPad as sponsored by Tundra Process Solutions. And the iPad goes to the overall winner, the grand winner of all the entries that we received. And that award and distinction goes to grade 5 student, Cheney Tidd. Is Cheney Tidd here? There she is. Hello. Those are great big smiles there. Thank you very much, Cheney. Thank you very much, Chris. All right, so now we're moving on to our category winners, and those categories again are K through 3, 4 through 9, and 10 through 12. And Brandt's Tractor was kind enough to sponsor the top prize in each of our grade categories. And each of the students that submitted a winning entry will receive one of these fabulous bikes that are at the front, in front of the mayor and our city manager. They will also receive a helmet, a backpack filled with accessories, including gloves, a lock, a water bottle, lights, and bells. So, in saying that, I would like to invite Mr. Kevin Lavallée from Brandt Tractor to come up and present the prizes. Come on down. All right, so we have our 3 students, and I'm just going to ask the students to come on up and receive your prizes. We're going to start at first with Miss Eunice Ferrer in the pre-kindergarten to grade 3 category. Is Eunice here? Oh, there she is. I think Eunice Friesen should try to get in on this picture too. Just poke your head over the side. Okay, so our next winner from the grade 4 to 9 category is Miss Janet Giesbrecht. Come on down. And our final winner from the grade 10 to 12 group. In fact, as one of the submissions, we had an option not just on art or sculpture, but also on a slideshow presentation. And in the grade 10 to 12 group, that was asking students if they could, instead of doing the painting or the sculpture, to do an actual slideshow of up to 20 slides representing Grand Prairie's past 60 years or future 60 years. And we did have one member of our community take that up, and she ended up being a winner, and that is Megan Stashko. Come on down. Good catch, David. Big smiles. All right, thank you very much, ladies, for all participating. Let's hear it again for our winners of each grade category round. And you can take your bikes. Remember to wear your helmet. I think I heard Kevin O'Toole shout from the other end of the council chambers. Congratulations. And if you want to stick around to the end of the council meeting, I'll catch a ride home on your handlebars if you have an extra helmet. Great. right, and finally, Eastlink Center sponsored our second and third place prizes in each of these categories, and the second place winners will receive a 1-month unlimited pass to Eastlink Center, and third place recipients are awarded a 3-visit pass to the Eastlink Center. So here to present these prizes is Mr. Jim Weller, our General Manager at the Eastlink Center. Come on around. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to call up our second and third place winners as they receive. They'll come up, shake Mr. Jim's hand, and then we'll call the next ones and get a big group picture. Sound good, Jim? Awesome. All right, so in our pre-kindergarten group, we'll call up our third place past prize winner goes to, I hope I say your name right, Aiden Illis, to pick up his third place pass. Let's hear it for Aiden. Isle. Oh, that's Irish. Oh, I should know. I'm Scottish. I'm sorry. I won't get that wrong again. Let's hear it one more time for Aiden Isle. And here as well to receive her second place prize, I'd like to call up Miss Riley Beckler. Riley Beckler. Let's hear it for Riley. Congratulations. And now we'll call up our second place prize winner in the grade 4 to 9 category, and it is Elizaveta Berenchik. Did I say that right? I hope I said that right. And unfortunately, our third place winner, Acadia Smith-Salter, was unable to join us tonight, but we will have passes there available for her. Big smiles, everybody. Awesome. Thanks so much. Good job. Let's hear it for all of our winners here tonight. And thanks again to each and every one of our entrants who submitted their artwork to this, and to our sponsors for providing the great prizes. Without you, our community just wouldn't be as great as it is right now. So thank you very much for your contributions, both in art and in sponsoring. And we'll be showcasing the artwork from this competition on the city website in a future date soon to come. So stay tuned to cityofgp.com. Thank you very much, everyone.
And thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen, to your committee and the hundreds of city volunteers, actually, that give their time to be able to put on Municipal Government Day. A great initiative for the community, and obviously well appreciated and well enjoyed. Our next delegation that let us know ahead of time that they were coming was Ms. Karen Vasquez from Interpipeline. Is Ms. Vasquez? Karen, are you here? There we go. Thank you. Welcome. If you'd like to come forward and introduce yourself and your delegation for council, we'd happy to recognize you.
Laptop? Somebody was gonna...
Council has copies of your printed out presentation. You can absolutely connect to your laptop. So do we have, I'll just look back to our technical assistants at the back. Do we have an HDMI cable there? But if maybe you could introduce yourselves while we're getting the computer connected.
Yes, I'm Michelle Dawson from Interpipeline, and I have with me Patrick Wong, and we are here to talk about our Heartland Petrochemical Complex and some of the ways it's touching Grande Prairie. And basically, we are talking to all the communities that will impact. This is just going to take a second. All the communities that will be impacted by this project. And although the project is in the Alberta Industrial Heartland, just outside the city of Fort Saskatchewan, we have one of the impacts that are there is that we have ordered 50 of the large modules for our facility to be built at Tradesman just outside of Grande Prairie. And they will be moving on your roads. So I thought we'd tell you a little bit about. And then we can get, what we are really seeking from council is any advice. I know large modules moving on highways are always an inconvenience, and we wanted to make sure that we inform people and let people know about how these will move, and so that we can get any advice if you want advertising, specific kind of notifications for the community, and that sort of thing. So this will just come up in 1 second. course, we're not quite as exciting as winning bicycles, and neither Patrick and I can draw, so.
And just as you're getting organized, council does have your presentation ahead of time, and so appreciate you want to highlight the overall project itself in respect of time, though, this evening, if you can try to give us the highlights there and keep it a little bit more to the impacts on Grand Prairie.
Right.
That'd be really helpful.
It's taking a while. Yes, and in the interest of time, I'll keep it very short. The Heartland Petrochemical Complex, and that's our lawyers make us post that. Just Interpipeline is a large transportation natural gas liquids. We own 4 business units, and we operate in Western Canada and Europe. So currently, we are not in the petrochemical business, but we have made a recent purchase of Williams Energy Canada, who is actually producing liquids out of the oil sands, and those liquids can easily be turned into various petrochemicals that make plastics. So similar to many of the components on the bicycles, polypropylene is one of the products that we are seeking now. So the Heartland Petrochemical Complex is one of the projects that was awarded the petrochemical diversification credits by the Alberta government. We will be using locally sourced propane and turning it into polypropylene in one of our facilities, and it goes right to the little plastic pellets. And one of the other ways that this touches Grand Prairie is many of the producers that are producing gas right now are only going for rich gas, liquids gas, because really the price of natural gas is so low, but the liquids actually make it worthwhile. And with that, propane is one of the most dominant liquids in natural gas after ethane. And this is the ability, it is not being produced in Canada today, but the ability to turn propane into polypropylene and to be sold as a plastic product. And it'll probably be shipped to the US, but we're hoping that if we have one of these facilities in Alberta, that we will be able to kind of promote and draw people to make plastic products right here in this province. So it'll divert 22,000 barrels a day in propane, and it'll be located just across the river from one of our existing facilities. So I can tell you that if you want to learn a little bit more about this process, and in the interest of times, if you go to www.interpipeline.com, there's a very cute 4-minute video that tells you exactly what the process is and how we turn propane into plastic pellets, which are very stable and easy to ship. We will be building a rail yard, and they could be shipped in rail cars. You can even ship them in super bags, and they can be used for all kinds of infrastructure. You'll see a lot of medical supplies are made out of propylene, a lot of car bumpers, car parts, various pieces of your cell phone, and many, many things. So just skip over this. This is the rail loading. So a little bit more on some of the impacts. So we started construction in Q1 of 2018. This is a very difficult and complex construction. We expect to be finished at the end of 2021. So through the construction process, we're going to have currently we have about 200 people on site. There'll be 2,300 people on site in the peak construction period. This project will create over 13,000 jobs, and we'll have 180 full-time staff. So the current contracting strategy is for the majority of the modules to be made and fabricated in Alberta at various mod yards, Edmonton, Grande Prairie, and Fort Saskatchewan. These are all very large over-dimensional loads. Approvals from Alberta Transportation and municipalities for transportation where we impact inside the municipal boundaries are required. Mammoet and Kiwi Energy Canada and WSP Opus have developed our transportation strategy plan in consultation with Alberta, Strathcona County, City of Fort Saskatchewan, and other jurisdictions. There are numerous road infrastructure upgrades are required, none in this area, and 2 major transportation corridors have been identified. And we expect the modules to move between the last quarter of this year and right up to 2020, and the largest units will be in Q1 of 2019. So this is kind of the map. I'll just show you another map with, there will be 50 units so far coming from Grande Prairie. There could be more. We've only allocated the first part. This map probably council doesn't have in their package. This is our routing going through to Range Road 220. So these modules will be fabricated right here at Tradesman Fabrication Shop. They have very easy access to Highway 43, so they shouldn't be much impact on the municipal area, but we do understand that you have a lot of your constituents travel back and forth to work, and so we thought we would come and have a chat with you about these. We are committed to engaging in communication with all communities along the transportation routes. We've developed a comprehensive stakeholder engagement strategy. We will have radio, paper ads, notifications. We'll be advertising on Alberta Transport's 511 number, information sessions in impacted communities, and then there'll be live updates on the Heartland Petrochemical Complex website, which can be accessed through www.interpipeline.com. And then these are just pictures, so I'd leave it open to questions if you had any questions or concerns or any information that you want us to know about.
Sure, thank you very much. And maybe can you just leave up the images there? And so what sort of scale of item are we going to be transporting?
So the pictures that I have here are the 4 largest moves. They won't be coming from this area. These are actually the largest moves in Alberta ever, and that's why a number of roads and bypasses and creating areas around are being built. These ones won't be here. The oversized modules, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so we'd call these standard Alberta modules. So the largest of them would be 7.3 meter wide, 9 meter tall, 57 meters long. In fact, if you actually drive by the tradesman yard right now, they're not our modules, but they have some structural steel that's being built. And that gives you kind of an idea of the size of these pieces of equipment that are shipped out of this area.
Stole Councillor O'Toole's question. Okay, well, thank you very much for the presentation. Council, any questions for the delegation? I don't see any. There was I think we have contact info for you, and so I think likely at the end of the meeting is usually where we deal with all of our delegation business, and most likely we would identify the appropriate administrative or management contact and have them be in touch with you. So thank you very much for being here to present and share the impact that the Heartland project will have on the Grande Prairie region and our local economy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
We did have a number of other delegations, and maybe I'll just do it this way. Was there anybody here that wanted to speak to council on some topic other than cannabis this evening? Or is anybody that was here that wished to speak to council related to cannabis? Okay, I thought that might be the case. And so we do have at least 2 delegations that let us know ahead of time that they wish to speak. And the first were representatives from Canna Culture Limited. Gentlemen, if you'd like to come forward and introduce yourselves. Welcome. We council, as you're getting organized, I'll say we had a fairly extensive meeting related to the cannabis subject at our last council meeting. And I think it was actually one of the longest meetings in council history, which was exciting. But so we're going to try and ask our delegations to keep their presentations to approximately 5 minutes as best as possible. So,
Absolutely.
thanks. And if you'll introduce yourselves.
My name's Carter Dombrova.
My name is Justice Kongsdorf.
So today, Your Worship, Council attendees, thanks for having us. Like we just said, this is Justice Kongsdorf and I'm Carter Dombrova. Together, we're co-founders of Cannaculture Limited, a retail cannabis store trying to initiate ourselves as a startup in the piece. Today, we have two main concerns we'd like to bring up to the Council. The first concern is the business license limitation addressed in Section 3, subsection 4A of Bylaw C-1064H. That's the limitation of 10 in the City of Grande Prairie. The second is the operating hour restriction of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. In 16.2, subsection 2A. So today, we have two goals related to our two concerns. The first goal is to raise that minimum limitation from 10 to ideally 20 in our perspective. And because of this, we've listed all of our concerns on this sheet as we go, and that's just for reference. I'm just going to highlight a couple of those as we go, though. The first is that Justice and I are both born and raised from Grande Prairie. We've been here and lived here our entire life. Now that legalization has become a reality, we have decided that we would like to pursue that as a small business startup in Grande Prairie. As far as we're concerned, this business license limitation of 10 alongside the lottery selection process potentially puts business owners like us at risk. We understand that the notion was more likely intended to limit a monopoly, and that's why the limit of 2 per entity was also involved. But we believe that because the limitation has been imposed at 10 rather than a higher number, there's going to be some of those applications and processes that are going to be cut out. In our situation, we only have one store and one application. And if that's cut out, we're completely eliminated. And that's thousands of dollars in legal fees, lease fees, application fees that are just out the door for over a year. The second is that the city of Grande Prairie is a city of upwards of 70,000 people with a surrounding area of tens of thousands more. 10 stores simply isn't enough to service that large of an area. It simply isn't enough to service that size of a population. The purpose of legalization is to remove the stigma and the effects of the black market. If we're trying to remove the effects of the black market, we have to effectively smother it with a legal one. If we don't provide legal and safe access to everyone, then we're not doing that. There's no point in doing any of this. As per our second concern of the operating hour restriction, as we see it at Cannaculture, we would like to be governed in this sense as liquor stores are governed. The AGLC has put out a guideline that states that we can legally be open from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. All we want is to be allowed to make that decision for ourselves. We understand that there are safety concerns, and we understand that the population and clientele that we'll often be dealing with are similar to liquor stores, and we understand that there's often conflicts there. Now, we'd like to say that most of these concerns haven't been brought forward with liquor stores, and the provisions put in place by the AGLC in terms of security and how we have to run our business are more than what's in place for liquor stores and other businesses. In terms of security, we are more prepared than other people, and that should not be the logic behind limiting our hours. To bring up the survey that the council put out to Grande Prairie, over 1,700 people were surveyed. Last time I checked, 68.3% of those surveyed were most concerned with intoxicated driving. With an hour limitation of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., that means that anyone searching for cannabis between the prime hours of 10 p.m. and midnight and the hours of midnight to 2 a.m. Will have to search elsewhere. It's possible that there will be stores in the county. It's possible that there will be stores in surrounding neighborhoods such as Claremont, Wembley, Beaver Lodge, etc. If people are searching for that product, they will drive for that product. The city has said we're concerned about intoxicated driving. If we want to remove that concern, we have to provide safe and legal access as per the federal guidelines. If people are driving to get product, I'm not saying they're going to drive intoxicated, but the likelihood of someone who's driving to get a product which intoxicates you and then having to drive back to their residence, the chances increase for intoxicated driving, and I think we can all agree on that. There's a couple other notations in this handout that I think just support the points we've listed, but at this time, I'd just like to answer any questions the council might have.
Thanks very much, and much appreciated. I appreciate you sort of working to fit that time allotment. Council, any questions for the delegation? Councillor Bressy.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Thank you for coming and presenting, and thank you for looking to start a business here in Grande Prairie. I appreciate both those things. So a phrase I noticed you used a couple times was this phrase prime time, and I'm just wondering, these late night / early morning hours, do you have reason to believe that those are going to be busier hours for you than other times of the day? And if so, is that based on something?
Yeah, so let me reiterate my purpose for wanting to extend the hours. It's not a financial concern of mine. I'm perfectly happy working from the hours of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. My concern is that the purpose of legalization is to remove the effects of the black market. We cannot do that if we're not servicing the city of Grande Prairie and everyone who wants cannabis when they want it. That black market is still going to exist as long as there's a need. If we close at 10 p.m., there will still be a need at 11 p.m., and those people will find their cannabis elsewhere. It defeats the purpose, in my opinion.
So you're suggesting that's prime time for social benefits more than for business benefits?
I think we're hanging on the term prime time too much. I'm concerned that those hours are obvious sales hours, and it's not so much that 11 p.m. is going to be a better sales hour for me than 9 p.m. or 7 p.m. That's not my concern. My concern is that it shouldn't be limited by the council when the federal guideline says that we're trying to remove the effects of a black market.
Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the delegation? Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and I think that you're very concise in the points that you make, but I wanted to challenge you on one of your points regarding the hours. You make a point about the availability of recreational cannabis from a paramedicine point of view. Are you proposing that it's a good idea for people to self-medicate by choosing to use recreational cannabis in place of medicinal cannabis?
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Blackburn. That's an excellent question. So the reason I've included that in your spreadsheet, and there's a reason I didn't address it, was because I'd rather everyone just mulls it over. But I'll add on to that right now. So I'm a primary care paramedic working in the Peace region. I've been working for over 2 years. What I'm suggesting is not medical advice. I'm not suggesting people replace proper medical attention with a recreational, essentially illicit substance. What I'm suggesting is that Grande Prairie is at the forefront of an opioid epidemic, and I'm sure as Bill Given knows, since he's recently been added to a task force, this is a growing problem. We see deaths and we see addiction over and over, and Grande Prairie is definitely at the forefront. Now, there's studies coming, especially out of the UK, but they're happening in North America too, that say that cannabis is an effective substitute to opioid addiction, and it's an effective withdrawal tool. Now, as I've found in my profession, and as many of my colleagues have found, addicts don't tend to seek proper mental health or any health care for that matter. They don't go to the hospital unless they're taken there, and they definitely don't go through the process to try and get a green card. My suggestion is that if we allow legal and safe access to these people, it is more likely that they will walk into that store and purchase it for themselves as any other retail store, and it's possible that that will aid in the solution. It is not the solution, nor is it medical effect to that solution. I think that it will help that problem. It definitely won't hurt it. And it is my professional and personal passion that that is the case. I do advocate for that personally.
Any other questions for the delegation? Gentlemen, I don't see anybody in the queue right now. I just wanted to follow up on two around the determining the right number of licenses for Grande Prairie. On what basis are have you determined that 10 isn't the right number?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, of course, our own specific business model, as does every other company behind me. We determined that 20 was a safe, round, debatable number. That is what we would ideally like to see the minimum be set as. If council chose to set anything above that, I think that would be acceptable. Now, in terms of direct numbers, we've been operating under the clause of there should be at least one business per 4,500 people in Grande Prairie, and that's not to mention the surrounding piece, which is hard to calculate how many or what the population will be that will service. So we've gone from the lowest number. We've said that we would like to see is 1 per 4,500. Now, I know that that's not exactly 20. We felt that it would be discussed, so we'd like to pitch 20, essentially.
And what impact do you imagine the provincial online retail will have in terms of the physical retail demand?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. The online retail sales, while they'll be able to sell any cannabis product, or the provincial government, they will sell edibles and they will sell other products which retail cannabis stores are currently prohibited from selling. While that doesn't provide us with a niche, it provides them with a niche, and it gives specific consumers a reason to use them. That being said, we're hoping that through home marketing and the city of Grande Prairie, we will be the stop for the dried herb sales for the first year until that changes. I don't foresee it being having a significant effect because none of those products are available now anyway. So as they become available, if people choose to use the other products on the website, I think the traffic will be two separate avenues, if that makes sense. I'm sorry if that was a convoluted answer. But.
And then just you made a point about the risk of the people that have invested in sort of the business startup aspect. What happens if the Senate delays the passage, or the House of Commons doesn't accept the changes that the Senate's made, and the issue falls apart there or at the provincial level?
Absolutely. So I think the question actually has to be more of what do we do if they pass it? We have no option as retail cannabis store owners but to do anything but prepare at this point. To do that, we have to file our applications, hold a lease, and present legal fees, among other things. If we don't do that, we won't be prepared to launch alongside legalization. And again, as far as I'm concerned, if we're not launching alongside legalization, we're not assisting Grande Prairie. In fact, we're actually helping prohibit Grande Prairie from accessing legal and safe cannabis. And that's not the purpose of legalization anyway. And again, that's our main focus.
Sure. But so there was an inherent business risk that you've accepted by attempting to sort of be prepared in advance of the market actually being legal.
So at this point, everyone, I believe privately, is operating under the assumption that legalization is going to occur at some point, whether it happens now or after summer recess. That's debatable, which is fair enough. But as far as we're concerned, it's going to happen. We have a known risk walking into this that we may have to hold this lease for 6 months. We may have to hold on for a year. We don't walk into it thinking that the municipality is going to cut us out because of a 10 licensing limitation, though. We have not gone in thinking that that would be an assessable risk.
Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given, and thanks for coming in your presentation here today, gentlemen. I just wanted to go back to the hour limitations and perhaps going back up to midnight. Just as a quick, simple question: do possible prime hours trump that black market and get safe and legal weed into the hands of the consumers rather than the potentially unsafe and illegal weed trade, or does price point trump it? Because I ask that because a lot of times, especially with startup businesses, you have to cost things a little above the regular market value, and that's what happened down south in the States, in several states where they did that, and they found in their first couple of years of legalization that their black market stats didn't go down. In fact, people are still afraid to go into retail. Does that concern you at all, or are you focusing on price points versus prime hours?
So it's been a point of analysis for us while we've been setting up. However, we're not particularly concerned about it because we don't like to compare the market in the United States to the Canadian market. And the reason for that is that here our market is provincially regulated, which means you have licensed producers who have to sell the product to the government, and the government has to give it back to the retail cannabis sales. As far as we're concerned, that creates a monopoly and a chokehold. They price it and they sell it to us. We're a startup. It doesn't matter if we're a startup or if we have 500 stores, we're going to get that product for the exact same price, and we're going to be able to ship it in for the same price points. Again, the purpose of legalization is to remove the stigma and remove the black market and the effects of the black market. The provincial government is helping to do that in that way. So to be clear, I'm not concerned so much about prime hours or the price point trumping. I think if legal cannabis is there, it will remove the black market, period. The black market is a difficult drug trade, essentially, whereas the legal cannabis market is relative and comparable to the liquor trade, right? Because of this, as soon as it's accessible, people will use the accessible route. That being said, the proposed price points that we've heard rumored from the AGLC are what is or below the current price points that are assumed by the federal government in the black market.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the delegation? I don't see anybody else. Gentlemen, thanks very much for being here this evening. Thanks for the presentation. Much appreciated. We have another delegate.